What's going on? It's Jason Heath here, and I want to talk to you a little bit about arpeggios on the bass and how to practice them, how to think about them, how to lay them out under your fingers. And it's quite a simple concept, actually. If you're not familiar with arpeggios, all they are the first, third, and fifth notes of a scale. So if we're talking C major, that would be C, then we skip the D, go to E, skip the F, and go to G. So it'd be C, E, G. And then the top note is the same as the first note, back to C. So one octave arpeggio just has 4 notes, and the lower note and the upper note are the same. We want to practice these in conjunction with scales because music isn't just made up of scales running up and down. It's full of all sorts of different patterns. And as bass players, we want to be particularly familiar with these patterns because they're kind of what our parts look like in music. So there are different ways to approach arpeggios. I've laid out some fingerings here. You can download them in the description below. And for many of the scales, I have what I call a beginner fingering and a template fingering. And what that is the beginner fingering is just the easiest fingering that I find for most people starting out. Now, the template fingering is a pattern that you can use all across the bass for pretty much every key. And that fingering is 2 on the low note, so that's the root would be with 2, 1 on the next note, and then 4 and 4 on the final 2 notes. And that pattern works great all over the bass. The only key it doesn't really work for is E major and then also F major, just because of the fact that they're so low on the bass. But for every other spot on the bass, that's a great fingering to do. Now, when you're practicing arpeggios, it's great to use a drone pitch. I like to drone either on the root, so if I'm practicing in C, I would drone on a C, or I would drone on a G, which is the 5th. Both of those are really useful for practicing arpeggios, and I like to take a scale and a key and work it for an entire week. Now, when you're starting out on the bass and you're only doing 1 octave arpeggios, maybe you could even do 1 every day or 1 every 2 days. You might not have to wait for a whole week, but as you get into more advanced material and start doing 2 octave scales and beyond, I think a week is a good time to just live with a key. So however you want to do it, that's great. That PDF has them all laid out, and we also have the same for major scales, minor scales, 1 octave scales. We've got a lot more in store. So I really hope you enjoy this material, and we'll see you on the next video.